Rick Horrow, Power Sports, nowhere better than the Florida Panthers and what they do for this community, a diverse community, a community where everybody's from somewhere else. But Matt Caldwell, the president and CEO of the Florida Panthers, kind of changes all that using the Power Sports to unite, to inform, to make people more aware.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me into your home.
No, it's great to have you. Thanks
Really appreciate it. So, first of all, you've been here since 2013
Yes.
when Vinnie Viola and the organization bought the Panthers.
Yep.
But you came from other organizations. Your diversity is not just other people in hockey, but Eastern Airlines Group, Versa ME, the people of the ownership group work with, but also VP of Goldman Sachs. We'll talk about military a little later.
Okay.
But the diversity of those organizations helped you in this role?
Yeah, sure has. And we have a ton of folks that have great experience in hockey, but our ownership thought it was important to bring in some people that come from different backgrounds, and I was one of them. And I served in the military, I worked in finance on Wall Street, and then I've worked with the owners for a long time. So, the culture that they wanted to establish and how they wanted to run the company, like kind of financially and budget-wise, I had some experience in. So I was able to complement folks like Dale Tallon and other guys we have.
Many different ownership groups have taken the helm of this organization since the initial expansion award was around for the initial expansion award. A lot of fits and starts.
Yep.
How does this ownership group and you as running it for them view ownership, steward of a public trust, obligation to give back? Give us your perspective on all that.
Yeah, our perspective is being, Vinnie has said, I'll use his own words, being stewards of the community.
Yeah.
We wanted to, go back to the years of the Heisinger time period, which was this franchise had a great, strong start its first 3-4 years, and I think a lot of that starts with singular ownership. And Vinnie and Doug Sifu have worked with each other for a long time, and we thought it was important to have, one ownership group that had one clear vision, for the franchise, and then on top of trying to win the Stanley Cup, and having a really good competitive team on the ice, we wanted to go out there and roll up the sleeves and be there for Broward County, Palm Beach, Miami. So we wanted to be more than just a sports team. We wanted to be out helping the community as much as possible.
Well, and the helping the community is the focus of what we need to talk about today as well. So many things. First of all, the Community Champions Program. You raised $5 million over the next 5 years, $25,000 check. It's an annuity. It keeps growing. Talk about that.
Yeah, Vinnie came up with this idea. He once we worked with Broward County. We have a strong relationship with the Broward County commissioners, and we had restructured our lease when the ownership first bought the team. And Vinnie really appreciated how much the county believed in him and was investing in the arena. So he promised to. He pledged $5 million over five years, so it's about $1 million per year. We do $25,000 per game. If you come to one of our games, we do a great check presentation, and we have a great vetting process to make sure the right nonprofits and folks that are really giving back are involved. And then once we donate the money, we actually get out and be hands-on. We encourage our employees to go out and volunteer and help out. For example, we just worked with a local Boys and Girls Club and went and helped redo their whole facility, help paint their buildings, redo their basketball courts, help out with the whole operation there. So the money aspect is huge, but we also like to get out and do some physical work ourselves.
Well, another probably unsung value of this process from the Power Sports perspective, the vetting doesn't automatically mean if you say no, you leave them in the lurch.
Right.
I'm sure part of the vetting is you're going to tell people how to get better and maybe apply in the future.
We do. Yeah, we give them feedback. Yeah. We bring them out to a game. We want them to be ultimately supporters of the franchise too, and say, come back, apply again. And this is our second year doing it. We had a number of nonprofits come back and apply. So, it's all about building an emotional connection with these folks, and it's been good.
Emotional connection and financial leverage. So, give us an example of an organization that is using that $25K to leverage other efforts for them.
Yeah. So we're working with all the youth hockey programs.
Yeah.
So. We've donated money to, there's 6 youth hockey rinks here in South Florida, so I think 2 of them applied last year. We have all 6 applying this year. So they've used that a lot for learn to play programs, which I know we're going to talk about, and then also helping buy equipment for people. I know travel hockey can be a significant expense, so some of the money's been used for that. So that's been one example.
And let's talk about learn to play, because the NHL has an incredible effort through the Industry Growth Fund,
right?
And Gary Bettman's vision is to make sure that this helps not just the Sun Belt cities on ice, but street as well, and to grow the game. So talk a bit about that.
Yeah, it's been huge for us. We're a proud recipient of the program, and We started 3 years ago. Our first year we had about 100 folks come through the program. This year we're going to have around 600, a little over 600. So we're growing the game. It's $150. You come out, 6 weeks of training. We have a lot of our alumni that are doing the practices and teaching kids how to play. And then from there, they're able to keep all the equipment. We know that that's a significant expense for youth hockey players. So it's a great value, and then you get to see our Panther alumni.
And I know Dale Tallon has been involved with this franchise, general manager, a great friend.
Yep.
Does he give him golf lessons as well,
Yeah,
or just hockey?
he should. That's where they really get good value.
Well, but the whole organization is the presumption of what to do in a community where the average temperature is 7,000 degrees and it gets hotter and everybody's from somewhere else.
Right.
It's an important social commitment as well to bring people together, isn't it?
Yeah, and like when Vinnie first bought the team, we kept hearing from folks it's hard to build a sports loyalty, fan base here in South Florida because nobody's from here. But we're big believers that if we build it, they will come, and if you give people something to rally behind and be associated with, and this Learn and Play program is a great social link to bring families together, and they're there at the rinks and get to meet other people. So it's been great.
And the mandate and the requirement of being a first-time participant, you make sure that you get people who might have gone a different direction in a different sport.
Exactly. Yeah. And introduce the game to them, and hopefully they become fans as well, and then teach them a great sport and get them excited.
So there's another initiative that gives us a insight into you, the heroes among us. Talk about that.
Very, very important to us. We want to honor the veterans and people that have sacrificed their lives, and this program has grown so much more than we ever imagined. We started when Vinnie first bought the franchise. Each game we would honor a veteran, and a lot of times we were running around making cold calls and trying to reach out to Army units, Marine units. Certain veteran organizations to see if they had anyone to bring out to a game. And now it's become so popular, we get inbound calls. We've had World War II veterans, a number of them. This year we're going to have a bunch of World War II nurses that are coming out to the game.
And in South Florida, it's a big deal.
It is a huge deal.
A lot of people to honor.
Yes, and it's the most dramatic moment during our game. In fact, whenever we launch something like the Community Champion Program or anything else we do on the scoreboard, we set the Heroes Among Us program as like the standard. If we can get a crowd reaction like that or emotional connection, it's very hard to match a veteran connection, but that's the standard that we set. So we're very proud of the program.
Well, and it is a testament, by the way, to Matt Caldwell that he talked about it in third person and didn't talk about his experience. 5 years active duty, Iraq and Kosovo?
Yes.
You got to talk about that.
Yeah, thanks. So I graduated West Point 2002. My senior year. In September of my senior year was 9/11, so we were the first class to graduate into the war. And, a lot of my classmates did 2, 3, 4 tours. I went to Iraq in all of 2004 and then about 3 months in 2005. And I also served in Kosovo for 6 months, which was much more peaceful than Iraq, but still not South Florida.
No, but it doesn't sound peaceful.
No.
It doesn't sound peaceful.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, well, first of all, little fun stuff. Your dad. Sorry, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Matt Caldwell's dad, which explains how Matt Caldwell looks. So, Wild Bill, tell us about this.
Yeah, I hope I don't have his gut yet, but
we're not, if he did, we're not talking about it, ladies and gentlemen.
So, Wild Bill, as we like to call him, is a very interesting character. Speaking of Kosovo, the first chapter is about how he visited me in Kosovo for my birthday, came to a war zone. So how he did that, you have to read the book. I'm not going to let you know.
Read the book.
Yeah, read the book. First
There's a plug.
Yeah.
There's a plug.
So, but no, he's done some. It all comes from a place of love, how much he loves
sure.
his kids. But the way he goes about expressing that love is pretty erratic and crazy. And I've told these stories all my life. And whether I'm sitting in the battlefields talking to privates or being on Wall Street and talking to senior partners, everyone just can really appreciate a crazy family member. So I finally put it all down on paper and wrote a book about him.
And the subtitle is A Legend of America's Craziest Father. And without being glib about what this all means, I'm sure you can put in perspective a win or a loss at a hockey game,
yes,
given what you've been through.
Yeah, I mean, I still get intense and emotional, but I think I'm able to recover much more quickly. I'll be aggravated if we lose a tough game, but when I walk out, maybe a few minutes later say, hey, I've been through a lot worse, and Wild Bill showed up in a war zone, so I can get through this.
Yeah,
so.
and you're also it's not just that issue, but hurricane relief, for
Yes,
example.
yeah.
So that's a good.
Yeah, when Hurricane Irma was about to hit Fort Lauderdale in South Florida, and it was about a week before the hurricane. It was really when the reports were really crystallizing that it was definitely going to make landfall in Florida. Vinnie Viola called me. It was Labor Day, morning of Labor Day, and said, Matt, we need to stand there for the people in South Florida. You have experience in a time of crisis. Spare no expense. Open up the arena. Do whatever you can to bring in people. So we housed over 2,000 Florida Power and Light workers here. We acted as a staging area for police, fire. They've stored a lot of equipment. And then once the hurricane passed, we went out there and got in the community again and delivered food. We had a bunch of food trucks here, delivered meals to people. We went down to the Florida Keys and delivered a bunch of supplies. So we just thought, we talk so much about being in the community, and our owners donate a lot of money, but to roll up the sleeves and be there in a time of crisis was important for us.
It's been a while, but it is probably good to know, since people now get some insight into Vinnie Viola too, that he could have been the Secretary of the Army.
He could, yep. He was the first nomination, and it was I know personally talking to him, it was a really tough decision for him to turn it down, but he has so many business interests, and he couldn't really look himself in the mirror and say, can I still run the Panthers, own the Panthers, and his company in New York and Eastern Airlines and everything else, while worrying about the U.S. Army, which is obviously very important. So he had to step down because of kind of conflict of interest, but he was very, very honored to be nominated.
Spend a few minutes talking about why you're so important and Vinnie's so important to the history of hockey in South Florida. Now, 9 million years ago, we built the Miami Arena and did a study and delivered it to Gary Bettman and said, by the way, hockey's a slam dunk because Cubans like hockey because of fighting, and the Canadians are going to love hockey because they just come down here. Well, the Canadians wanted to get away from the cold, and the Cubans didn't know hockey. And from that point, it's been really, really difficult. And we also have a number of sports franchises in South Florida. So how difficult is it to sustain a brand from, in many cases, people don't know who you are?
Yeah, it's been very hard. Harder than we ever expected, no matter how much people prepare you for it. But the model's been proven. When Wayne Huizenga first launched and the team went to the Stanley Cup, this place was rocking.
Do you have one of the rats?
I do,
yeah. So do I.
And we still throw the rats on the ice after the game. And we saw it when we went on our 12-game win streak in 15-16. We went to the playoffs. This place was crowded, and you have to win, but it's becoming like that in any market. So between Wayne Huizenga and Vinnie, it was about a 13-year period. There was one playoff appearance. So I think no matter where you are, it's hard to be relevant when you're not winning. But we're completely dedicated. We know winning is important. We're out in the community too, so it's time for people to rally behind the franchise.
And Dale Tallon, your general manager, he is all in. He's all
completely all in. He's built this team, and you've seen a lot of his young players now that are taking over. And we moved on from some of the veterans we've had in the past because we think, Sasha Barkov and Aaron Ekblad and Jonathan Huberdeau, these guys are ready to take over the team.
Well, just a couple more questions about the industry itself. Are you happy with where the NHL is going, direction-wise, leadership-wise?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, the game has grown so much in the few years we've owned the franchise, and anyone that we bring out to the game, I think it's the best live sport that's out there as far as watching in person. I know on television it's still not the greatest, but you're seeing more and more our attendance records. Our attendances are improving. So this game's become much more exciting, and you keep hearing from folks, that it's just a game that's so intense. And I know millennials like it. They like the action and being here in an arena when there's not a million TV timeouts and a slow pace of game. I watched nothing against baseball, but I'm a huge Yankee fan. I watched the playoffs last night, and I was by the third inning I was a little bored. So only because
put in perspective. The Yankees won a 1-0 thriller last night. The guy's a Yankee fan, and he's bored. Gratuitous. I'm going to leave that alone. That's totally gratuitous. But finally, from Gary Bettman's perspective, he's the oldest standing, not living, he'll kill me, oldest standing commissioner in 1993. Yeah. League in good hands, but he also bends over backwards to protect Sunbelt franchises. Industry Growth Fund, a good example. You're comfortable growing the game together in South Florida.
Yes. He's been a great supporter of ours. He's helped us with bringing the draft here a few years ago when Vinnie first bought the team. We're working on getting an all-star game here, which would be huge in the next 5 years. So he's completely committed to helping in some of the more non-traditional markets.
Here's our final commonality. What is wrong with our Northwestern Wildcats football team, man? What's the problem?
Yeah, no, they're struggling right now. But they're probably focusing on their grades too much, which is fine.
That's a pretty good argument. By the way, Duke and Stanford could use that argument, but they don't. That's okay. Thank you, my friend. Really wonderful.
Appreciate it.